Welcome to Film and Page. I'm Dominic, and this is another episode of Road to Dune. So, more Dune news came out this week, and it's news that got me really excited. And as you can tell from the picture, it's going to be toy-related news. It's something I didn't think was going to be announced, but I'm really glad it did, because it's something I was secretly hoping for. McFarlane Toys announces Dune action figures to arrive in fall. So I knew there were going to be Dune toys because they kept throwing hints there were going to be toys and games based on Dune coming out soon. But I didn't know Todd McFarlane's company was going to be the one doing the toys, but I was hoping it was going to be Todd McFarlane's company. And because I'm a big fan of Todd McFarlane and I think he makes some great toys. So I'm going to go through the article and then give my thoughts on all of this. Frank Herbert's Dune holds a place of honor among the all-time classic sci-fi novels. Its previous adaptations into other media, maybe not so much. But Denis Villeneuve's upcoming film attempts to remedy that, with an all-star cast and the director's likely more cerebral approach to the material. Still, whether the movie is or isn't well received, Dune remains a property that inspires a fiercely loyal, vocal fan base. And it's distinctive enough that even unfaithful adaptations retain a fascination. David Lynch's 1984 movie version flopped on release, and the TV edit prompted him to take the Alan Smithy directorial credit. Yet, people still talk about it today, and that may be why McFarlane Toys have grabbed the license for the upcoming feature, as announced today with this graphic on social media. So this was the graphic that was released on social media, that Todd McFarlane is going to be doing Dune Toys, and that is really cool. LJN made a line of Dune action figures back then. While they didn't sell like gangbusters, they remain highly sought after now. In part, this is because they're among the rare toys based on David Lynch movies. They also sport impressive actor likenesses for the time, and represent actors like Jürgen Prochnow, Kyle MacLachlan, and Sting, who don't exactly get immortalized in plastic that often. The new Dune features some veterans of the plastic replica game, including Jason Momoa, Josh Brolin, and Dave Bautista. Timothée Chalamet, however, will be a figure first. McFarlane has not announced which characters comprise their lineup, but Chalamet's Paul Muad'Dib Atreides as the main character feels like a guarantee. If the company follows their usual pattern, expect 7-inch scaled figures with a 22 points of articulation body style. So, really good news. So let's talk about Todd McFarlane for a bit. So my fandom with Todd McFarlane goes back a long ways. First time I ever seen his artwork was in Detective Comics 578 way back in 1987. It was a 4-part mini-series, Batman Year 2. And the first comic was done by a regular artist on the book. Then he had to leave, so Todd McFarlane took reins and did the last 3 parts of the miniseries. And especially the last part, number 4, is the comic. That issue he inked it himself, because the previous ones before that were inked by Alfredo Alcala. And it kind of like subdued Todd McFarlane's artwork a bit. So Todd McFarlane wanted his style to come out more. So he inked that last part himself, and it was just amazing. The artwork was just, like, I've never seen Batman drawn like that. It looked so cool, and it got me hooked on Batman. I was a Batman fan ever since. And then, of course, he went on to, do these amazing runs on, like, Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk. Those comics are still really sought after by collectors today. And then he went on to found Image Comics, and I remember that being such big news at the time. It was such a big deal, because really all you really had, you had a few other indie companies, but really you just had DC and Marvel. And they actually came in and gave you a really solid third choice. And the artwork was so cool, and it's just like that time where comic artists were like rock stars back then. Very different from now. And then, of course, he created Spawn, which is one of the most popular indie characters of all time, and arguably one of the most popular Image characters, easy. And it just goes on. I mean, the stuff he's done for comic books. And not only that, he really was a game changer when it came to action figures. Because before that, action figures were just aimed at kids, and there were collectors of action figures who collected them, but the market, that the guys making the toys weren't aiming them at adult collectors. They were aiming them at kids to buy and take them home and play with, but not necessarily to collect them. And then Todd McFarlane came along, and he recognized there was a market for that, because now the kids that were growing up in the 80s were starting to get older and enter the workforce and make their own money, so they could afford these more detailed action figures. And that really broke ground with the adult collector market. He was really one of the first ones to do that. I mean, you take it for granted now. There's all these companies that do it. It's just a thing now. But back then it was like back in the 80s and early 90s, it was something that just wasn't done. And now recently he went and did a Kickstarter. It went over $3 million. He's re-releasing, doing an upgraded version of the first Spawn figure he did. That's a picture of it now, and it just looks incredible. You can see the detail on that thing. Even the leathery look of the cape and all that. I mean, they really knocked that one out of the park. And this is actually a Kickstarter I went in on, so I can't wait to get this action figure. So I can only imagine how cool the Dune action figures are going to be with Todd McFarlane Toys doing. They're going to be really detailed. They're going to be awesome. They're just going to be awesome. And for sure they're going to make action figures of the new film, but I would really like to see them get some action figures of the 84 film too, because the design of those still suits and stuff in that old movie, it still really looks good, and they would look really cool in action figure form. Now, the only time we got the LJN action figures back in the 80s, and as far as those ones go, I've only ever seen pictures of those action figures. The LJN Dune action figures. I've never actually physically seen one with my own two eyes in my life. So they must be rare. And I have gone to all kinds of garage sales and thrift shops and comic stores, and I've never seen them. Now, the only Dune toy I've ever seen that was based on David Lynch's Dune is this action figure right here. Now, it's in that same style of Todd McFarlane Toys, but it wasn't done by Todd McFarlane. It was some other company that did this action figure. And I thought it was odd that they chose the Baron to do, and they didn't do any other action figures. Now, I'd seen this action figure in a toy store a long time ago. And I remember thinking at the time, I should buy that, but I didn't buy it at the time. And then it disappeared. I couldn't find it after. So I kind of regret not buying that. But this is the only high detailed action figure we have of the 1984 Lynch Dune film, or really anything Dune. The only other toys I can think of that were released were some Funko Pops based on the 84 film, and that's it. So I really hope we get some of the 1984 film, some of those action figures based on that film too, along with the new one. That would be really cool. So these are definitely action figures I am going to pick up. I'm going to buy these things because I've got a few Star Wars stuff, and most of my action figures are Masters of the Universe stuff. But I like the high detailed action figures based on films and stuff. I have a few of those too. But Dune is something that I'm really into. So I'm really looking forward to these action figures, and I'm so glad Todd McFarlane, he's the one that's doing these action figures, that his company's behind it. Really excited for this, and I think this is really good news. I can't wait. So that's everything I got to say in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I will see you at the next one. I'd like to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I appreciate you all in helping this channel grow. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded.